Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Let's take a look here at Dogecoin, see what's going on. I got to open with some nice congrats to our community members here. Solid profits there, good 22% in 20 hours. It's only a 5x leverage trade. Don't get too crazy with our community here, but we do actually 10x leverage Bitcoin. That's a different story, but once more, different risk tolerance for that coin. Either way you look at it, congrats on the community for that. Let's take a quick look on the back end data here for liquidation, kind of see what's going on with Dogecoin and kind of where we're at here. When we last left off yesterday, there was a chunk of liquidation here between 35.8, basically to say 36 cents, and roughly 37.2. So that's where you can see this reflected on the charts. That liquidation range has been swept. But that is essentially something that's important to recognize because when that liquidation range is present, the likelihood of hitting that level is higher, right? It's not a guarantee, of course, but we can see that reflected here. That 36 to 37 cent range is a rough estimate. So now that that's been swept, what's left? Okay, well, let's take a quick look here. We got a pretty big chunk at about 39/40 cents, basically 40 cents even. So if the price continues higher, that'd be a likely rejection zone, just based on it being, I wouldn't say a double top, but it could be the beginning of a cup and handle where the price action rejects out of that previous resistance because there's a lot of selling pressure there. But it would make sense for the price just to wick up just barely above 40 cents and then to pull back down for that natural capitulation to its local resistance range. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute here, but simply put, from a liquidation perspective, there's not a lot left immediately, but there is a large chunk at 40 cents. We take a look here as well, liquidation delta, back end data kind of letting us know that, hey, everybody's taking longs right now. Big surprise, not shocked by that. And that's kind of where we're at there. Pretty sensible stuff. Let's take a quick look here, see where everyone is hedged the most, right around 33 cents. We can see a large amount of position sizing there. 34 cents, 35, it's just some key, basically some easy round numbers, remember. 33, 34, and 35. I'm rounding up a little bit, but generally speaking, there's a lot of support there if the price were to come back down to retest that range. That's why I had a lot of limit orders set for my spot bag. Unfortunately, it didn't quite get filled. I was a little greedy on the 31 cent range. We never quite saw that, but I am glad though that our leverage play worked out. I think we got in roughly at about 34 to 35 cents right in this range here. So if you saw my analysis yesterday, you'll know, and if you're part of our community, not just the signal you saw, but we also had a trade alert too, kind of giving you an explanation as to why we took the trade that we did. So please make sure you read through that if you're part of our community. This is available for any members, of course, and there was zero bearish signs at the moment yesterday. Still the same thing, I'm sure, right now. But we're going to talk about potential areas of retracement and or consistency of where the price may end up. Again, this local high here seems to make the most sense at about 40 cents. I'll just go ahead and draw this line out here for the moment. All right, so let's take a look at the daily and see what's going on. And when we kind of look at the daily time frame, we want to recognize, macro resistance, but also potential support ranges. There is a lot of confluence here at about this 36 cent range. So we see roughly about 7 or 8 days in a row where the price action couldn't get past that to the downside. So we just kind of got to presume that that's going to be somewhat of a support range for us. So the price does pull back 36.2, 36 to 35 cents. There's a decent amount of volume there here locally. Now, when it comes to the macro point of control, we can see super strong support at 31 cents here, right? So that's good news in the overall sense. I don't think we're going to see that right away, but just know that exists. Daily time frame was back up over 50 on the RSI. Very good check mark there for a bullish sign. Stochastic RSI is swinging up. MACD is converging. There's a lot of reasons why taking a short position with this coin is just a terrible idea, and taking a long makes a lot more sense. We're tentatively above this local 0.5 fib level. Keep in mind, these are macro fibs from the local high, basically the most recent high of 48.5 cents. That was back in December on the 8th to the new low here, essentially, when the price wicked all the way down to 26 cents. Congrats to those who got in at around 26 to 27. Unfortunately, my limit orders didn't fill after that, but hey, again, hindsight's 2020, right? So when we take a look, though, we can see the SMA hanging out right there at basically 50 on the RSI. So we got, that's 50 on the SMA, the 50-day SMA on the daily time frame, kind of hanging out that 37.3. So hypothetically, that's a tentative resistance for us. We don't close above that today, but we close above potential new support, right? That's generally how that's supposed to work. But with us being above all these other moving averages and RSIs, there's really a lot of bullish signs here on the daily time frame, and that's very, very good. Now take a look at the 4-hour time frame. We can see this previous fair value gap is getting filled. When we take a look at the RSI, we can say we're getting closer to 70. Bitcoin's exuding the same behavior. It's about ready to explode, and if it does, a lot of vaults are going to follow suit at this point because Bitcoin dominance is pulling back. So if you're not familiar, Bitcoin dominance is on the retrace. which is generally good for alts. Doge being one of those, it's a very good sign. Anyways, stochastic swinging down, but I don't concern myself too much with that. It's basically the first swing to the upside, rather. It looks like it's starting to converge. I don't want you to focus on that. What you should focus on is the money flow index. Look at how much money flowing into this coin we're seeing right now. That's a pretty high MFI. It basically implies sustainability and likelihood of further downside is pretty low until that starts to dissipate. Okay, because again, people are just pumping money into this coin. You can see the last 14 candles are much higher than the previous 14. So in turn, we're seeing the money flow index increase. All right, so that's good. Either way you look at it, we're above all moving averages. We have a lot of confluence in this 34-cent range. I talked about this yesterday, being a really good consideration for entry if the price were to pull back, right there between 34 and 35 cents, right? So again, tons of confluence, confirming factors right at that range. So heaven forbid the price does pull back to that range, that'd be a good place to consider adding to your spot bag or considering potentially a leveraged long if the conditions are met. Between now and then, though, everything is fully green light, full green lights. You're like driving the airport and you're hitting every single green light right now. That's basically what we're seeing right now. Awesome stuff. There's no reason to consider shorting into this. While it is overextended, you could argue the same thing with Bitcoin too. Most altcoins are back on track. They're doing pretty darn well. So this is excellent stuff. I would recommend at this point, if you're going to consider entry, the logical place to consider entry is this local high, which could be retested as a new low. It hasn't yet, but it may be 36.3. That's the likely area of consideration if you're going to consider a long. If the price pulls back, it would be more likely to continue higher at that point. That's what I typically like to look for. Secondary to that, of course, we had this previous resistance, roughly 35.5 is another consideration. And then obviously this 34 to 35 cent range is just heavy support. So 34, 35.5, and 36.3 are the three potential considerations for either dollar cost averaging or considering a long position if we pull back to that level. Emphasis on the word if. We don't truly know if that's going to happen, right? So maybe consider getting some skin in the game now, but I don't like to long the top like this, so we're at, but again, you never truly know where the top's at. So either way you look at it, don't short this coin, huh? Easy to say that, right? Or just easy to remember. I get kind of stuck on repeating myself, but I kind of have to because we got a lot of newer traders joining. And I like to make sure to reiterate best practice. And the best practice right now is to not short a coin that's overextended. It makes no sense. The whole market is on fire. If you're going to be one of those, try to be a superhero to short a coin and just show how badass you are because you're taking a high risk trade. You've got a lot to learn. That's not what crypto should be all about, even though unfortunately that's kind of the commonplace right now. Tons of idiots out there. Be careful who you follow, and do your due diligence. If you're new to the channel and you haven't seen much of my content, keep watching and get the gist of it, and you'll see kind of how I do my thing. It's different than most, but it's conservative and consistent. That's all there is to it. You want to be part of that, jump on over to our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord, at least for some easy free data, so to speak. But if you want to be part of our Trading Academy community or signals group, link down below, cryptocash.tech. I do look forward to work with you. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks so much for your time. See you soon. Bye-bye.